What do you get when you cross a cigar box with a Halloween children's classic? Welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. Today's What Would You Make challenge, hosted by the lovely and talented Zaina of OK at Home DIY and Connie of Connie's Woodshop and DIYs. This month, our guest host is JC of Crafting with JC. You'll find links to their channels, as well as the playlist in the description box. Please be sure to check them out. One of my all-time favorite books from childhood is Georgie's Halloween by Robert Bright. I've always loved his illustrations and sweet Georgie the Ghost and wanted to incorporate them into my Halloween decor. So, when my friend Danielle showed up at my house with a bag full of cigar boxes, I got an idea. I'm making a diorama / shadow box as an homage to my childhood favorite. Let's get into it. I took one of the boxes, removed all the stickers, sanded away as much of the slick surface as possible, and the wording, well, that's engraved, so that's still there, but it gets hidden. I gave the outside of the box 2 coats of Ceramcoat black acrylic paint. The inside, including the sides, I gave 2 coats of Ceramcoat Oyster white. It's got more of a vintage flavor, and since my book is vintage and the pages are discolored with age, I wanted to keep that feel. With painter's tape, I blocked off some stripes along the sides, so they're not exactly the same size, but, that's okay. Also, I taped off the top to protect it from any stray paint. I use a cosmetic sponge to pounce on some Oyster white. Then, when it's dry, I'll pounce over it very loosely with Americana Cadmium orange. When the paint is nearly dry, I'll peel away the tape to reveal the stripes. Now I'll add some age to the inside. And to do that, I'll grab my floating medium to float in some shading to give the appearance of old book pages. The medium is made by Folk Art. It's a clear gel, and what I'm going to do is prep my brush with it, getting a really healthy coat on my brush. I'll side load my brush with Ceramcoat Latte, scooping up the paint just onto the one corner. This is going to give me a gradient of color, fading from darkest at the corner of my brush to a lighter shade toward the middle of the brush. I do have a video on shading. I'll link it in the description box in case you're interested. I'll float right around the perimeter of the inside, and I'm going to reload my brush as needed. I'll repeat the shading on the other side of the box. You know what? Let's add some to the middle too, just a wee bit. I scanned the illustrations, sized them in Photoshop, and printed them onto cardstock. I also sprayed them with clear matte sealer to keep the ink from smearing. I'll cut out my images. If you're not familiar with the story of Georgie's Halloween, real quickly. Georgie is a wee ghost that lives in the Whitakers' attic. On this particular Halloween, the Whitakers were asked to judge a costume contest at the village green. Miss Oliver the owl and Herman the cat, as well as all the mice in the attic, thought Georgie should enter the contest because, after all, he was perfect for Halloween just as he is. So, after a lot of prompting from his friends, even though he is extremely shy, Georgie goes down to the village green, but he gets frightened away when the children see him and start to call out his name, so he runs home, lickety-split, back to the attics where the mice have found a first place ribbon in an old chest of drawers that they give to Georgie for his perfect Halloween costume. Right, so I am going to cut nice and close around all my images, and then we'll move on to the next part. So I'm going to come in and hit all of the edges of all of my illustrations. First with my Tim Holtz antique photo stamping ink, then I'm going to come back and do it with black. And I'm just using a cosmetic sponge to do this, and I'll keep doing it, until I'm happy. I used my silhouette to trace the title on the cover of the book in Silhouette Studio. and then I cut it out in white vinyl. I'm just going to transfer it onto the front of my box, and I'm using the cutout of my cover illustration just as a guide to where the text should go so it matches the cover. To seal the top and to make sure that vinyl isn't going anywhere, I'm going to pounce on a healthy coat of Mod Podge. Now I'm going to add some Mod Podge to the back of my cover illustration that I cut out, and I'm going to apply that right in the center of the box. I won't be applying a top coat of Mod Podge, which I usually do, but I really just want this to have the look of that paper like the original book, if that makes sense. Once I get it on there, I'm just going to use my fingers to make sure that it's well adhered. Okay, so now I'm just deciding how I want the interior of the box to look, so I'm kind of playing with the different images that I've cut out. Once I have a game plan, I will Mod Podge down the layers that will be flat to the box. And I'm going to use my fingers as well as my brayer and my squeegee to really make sure that the images are really well stuck. I absolutely love Robert Bright's illustrations. I believe that he did them with ballpoint pen. I think I read that somewhere. Anyway, I really want the one side to be really well covered, and especially because the whole scenery at the Village Green is so amazing and so much fun that I really wanted to get as many elements in there as possible. Yeah, so I'm just going to go along and add all the elements that I'm going to have actually glued flat to the inside of the one side of the box. I'm going to do that first. So for this next graphic, I want this to be 3D. So what I'm going to do is attach a wee piece of wood square dowel to the back of it so that it sits up away from the rest of the graphics that I've already Mod Podged. I love this graphic. It's all the trick-or-treaters, and I also included the text from the book as well. And you can see I'm just using a bit of hot glue here to add that square dowel to the back of my graphic. And now I'm just going to hot glue it right into that negative space there. Love it. There we go. I'm going to add another blurb of text at the top. I'm using a couple of wee wood plugs to give it dimension. I'm just going to hot glue them on the back of the text and then hot glue that into place. Cute. On the right hand side of the box, I'm going to start off with the iconic final image from the book. Again, just Mod Podging it into place right there in the center. Again, hitting it with my brayer and my squeegee so that it's well adhered. I printed 2 of those final images of Georgie over the pumpkin so that I could cut nice and close to the second one because this is going to be our 3D image here. And we're going to use some of those wee wood plugs to give him the dimension. I'm just going to hot glue them to the back of our wee Georgie. And again, with hot glue, I'm going to line him up and glue him right over top of the other Georgie. The only thing that won't be 3-dimensional is the final sentence of the book, which is, "But Georgie took care of that. Thank goodness." That's because he blew out the candle in the jack-o'-lantern in the window. So I'm just going to Mod Podge that right here on the right hand side of Georgie, flat to the box. I have a few more elements here that I want to make dimensional, so I'm gluing some Dollar Tree cubes and a long bit of a square dowel to the back of Herman the cat and the mice. And then I'll glue that into place. I'll use another cube to make our sweet Miss Oliver the owl dimensional. And I'll pop her into place right up here just above Georgie. Almost finished. One more wee touch. Remember I mentioned that the mice gave Georgie a prize ribbon? Well, we're going to make one to use as a closure to our box. So I cut a 12-inch length of ribbon. I'm running a basting stitch along one edge and cinching it as I go to create the rosette to our prize ribbon. It's just a simple in and out stitch. You've seen me do this before. I have a video on embellishments that goes into greater details, so I'll link that one in the description box too. I'm going to do a couple extra stitches to hold the circle together, and I'll add a dab of hot glue also to keep it together, and then I'm going to tie it off in the back. I painted a small wood circle with cadmium orange, stamped on first. I also ran some black ink around the edge. I hot glued it into the center of the rosette, and I also added some tails with some scrap ribbon, and I'm going to dovetail those. To get it to function as a closure, I'll glue some Velcro pieces to the box and then to the back of the rosette. And I had a spare Georgie, so I Mod Podged him to the back of the box. Here's a final look at my Georgie's Halloween homage. I hope you liked today's project. I love it almost as much as I love the book. And to think, you could do this with any book you love, really. Thank you Zaina and Connie for hosting and JC for co-hosting. Please be sure to check out their channels. They're linked in the description box along with the playlist and a list of my supplies. I have 2 more collabs this week. Indiana Jones's Halloween Palooza, where I'll have a clay piece for you, and First Friday Challenge. Fall is the theme. Hope you'll join me. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.